Hello and welcome to the Old Garage number 31. I'm Wild Bill and we've got a few questions. I've got some destructive silliness and a hysterically historical shout out you won't want to miss. So let's get on with it. Now, first one I have is from the Ford versus Selden special from last month. And Darren Henry asked, did anyone try any get-around tactics, like a second wheel bolted to each back wheel, or make a six-wheeled car to get around the patent? Well, here's the thing, is that a fifth wheel actually was tried. I think someone even mentioned in the comments by Cadillac as a parking aid, but Cadillac was already a member of ALEM. They didn't do that to try to get around the patent. It was just a feature that they attempted, and it really didn't work out so well. There was one company of some note that did, and that was Pullman, that made six-wheeled vehicles from about 1903-ish through to about 1910, and then stopped doing that once ALEM was out of business. But there really wasn't a whole lot of people that tried something like that to get around it. Most of them just piled onto the Henry Ford bandwagon, or piled on to ALEM, or were so entirely small that they just weren't available for ALEM to. It wasn't worth ALEM's trying to go after them. Don't mind Bo. That's my kitty, and he's gray. And what are you, Bo? What is going on? Please, I don't know. He's being a cat. Okay. Next question I had was actually I had two questions from the episode on Louis Delage, and first name, last name asked, do you think beautiful cars will come back? Well, boy, I wish they would. Here's the thing, is that the way cars are built today is very much legislated. There's two ways that countries will do that, whether it's in, America, Europe, Africa, Asia, whatever. And, Bo, that's enough crying. Okay? All right, anywho. First of all, there are going to be regulations on what is allowed on the road itself, as far as does it have bumpers, where are the lights, how bright are the lights, and they have to be put in certain heights and things like this. The mirrors placements, etc. That's one thing that you'll see, width of the car, length of the car, etc. The other issue is going to be safety features that are now mandated. This is going to be your airbags, the A-pillars on the car, which is, where the windshield is between the A-pillars. How thick they are, too, so that the car can survive a rollover. You've got how much of an impact the car can take in the bumpers or the sides of it. And you have these sort of things that now really mandate how a car can be designed. And now, can we make beautiful cars, like a Gate Delage again? I mean, I'd like to see that happen, but unless legislation changes, you may be able to build a beautiful car, but it's probably not going to be legal to drive on very many roads. So, unfortunately, I think that's the way it's going to be for a while yet still. Okay, yeah, this is going to be the meowing cat episode here. All right, the next, enough Bo. Okay, also from Louis Delage, James MacArthur, he asked the question, how many of these vintage car companies became famous because of their racing history? Well, I'd say more than half of them, because races as an industry diversified very quickly into different classes of cars, be it by their weight, by engine displacement, etc. And so with so many different types of races going on, anybody that made cars was trying to get a name for themselves in racing. I think it would be fair to say that there are more makes of vintage cars that, made their name or tried to make their name in racing than brands that didn't. And there are thousands of vintage cars. So a specific how many? I mean, oh my word, I'd take a month of Sundays to count them all up. It's in the hundreds. Ford made their name in racing. Look, working with Barney Oldfield, Buick did, Chevrolet did. even Cadillac got into a bit of racing early on. Of course, Napier and Peugeot, Panhard-Lenassor, I mean, and Benz and Daimler and Mercedes and Fiat, and it just, the list goes on and on and on. So yeah, racing was, the test bed platform for all kinds of cars, and anybody who was making cars was getting into racing so that they could test their cars and how they would survive under more normal circumstances. And to some extent, that's still done today. So there we go. Okay, those are the questions that we had, but I do have some silliness. Okay. I'm just going to say it. In my humble opinion, or not so humble opinion, there is only one Top Gear. There was only one Top Gear, and that was with Jeremy Clarkston, James May, and Richard Hammond. Okay, yeah, there have been other incarnations in other countries, and other things, but now that's Top Gear. The frenemies, with their ridiculous, idiotic buffoonery. And yet, there's an applied intelligence to their buffoonery sometimes, especially when it comes to how they destroy an automobile. Bo, enough. Jeez. So, we're all getting a lot of cat here on this episode. So, anywho, okay, Bo, all right, come here. Okay, this is the crying kitty. All right. So, when applying intelligent stupidity, how do you destroy a car? Well, here are my favorite top 5 methods used by the original Top Gear folks, at least those 3 guys. I know there was, James May wasn't at the beginning. But nonetheless, those 3 destroyed cars, my 5 most favorite ways they did it. And at number 5 is their episode where they had remote control cars. Now, they had found this gal who was like a world-class champion remote control car racer, little remote control cars. And so what these guys did was they challenged her, I think it was Richard Hammond and James May, to remote control a car race, except they remote controlled 3 real cars, stuck them in a quarry, made a track, and sat outside with remote controlling these real cars. And they all got trashed. There wasn't much left of them, but that was my number 5 way to destroy a car. Number 4, my favorite, car darts. Yes, here's the idea, is you take a pneumatic cannon, you attach a car on one end of it, and in the bottom of a quarry, put a big target with scoring rings in it, and even a caravan at one point, or travel trailer, and whoever got the most points wins, shooting cars onto a target. Yeah, that was some destruction and a lot of fun, that one. Okay, number 3, I have to go with Jeremy Clarkson dropping a piano on his Lamborghini. Now, the reason why this is up here is because I just felt so sorry for the piano. I mean, this was a perfectly good piano, and they dropped it on a quattroporta. Come on! What a waste of a piano! Oh, man. Sorry, that one hurt me. Okay, my number 2 one. And the fact this is number 2 may surprise many of you who are Top Gear fans. My number 2 is going to be their attempted destruction of the Toyota Hilux. This pickup truck went through hell, literally. It was drowned in the ocean. It was put on fire, run into trees, smacked into things, put on the top of a building in a big, apartment complex thing, and then they demolished the building with the truck on it, and yet the thing still ran when it was done. They were still able to get the car without using any new parts, get it up and running and going. And as fans of the show know, they made a plinth, in the studio and put this truck on it, as a testimony to the durability and indestructibility of the Hilux. So even though they failed to utterly destroy it, it was still, that was a great acts of destruction. So what would be my number 1? Well, this one was utterly destroyed. My number 1 favorite act of destruction was the Reliant Robin space shuttle. This thing was hilarious and serious too. I mean, they really did rocket science on this thing to actually get it to launch and separate the boosters and the fuel tanks, and then do the aerodynamic testing to try to fly it back as a reusable spacecraft, because the Reliant Robin kind of looked like a space shuttle. And Well, when they actually did it, it worked. They got it up to an apogee, but the exploding bolts didn't work, and the main fuel tank never separated, and the whole thing nosedived into the ground with one of the most satisfying explosions that a Reliant Robin was ever part of. So that is my number one. My favorite is the Reliant Robin Space Shuttle, and that's the silliness for today. But yes, we have a shout out. You are going to want to watch this, because if you're watching my channel, there's a good chance you like stories about history. And if you want to hear a lot of great stories about history, learn a lot about history, and learn a lot about antiques, here's the channel to watch. It is David Harper's World of Antiques. Now, anybody who's into the BBC shows, you know, that have all of the antique shows like Bargain Hunt and Antiques Road Show, Antiques Road Trip, Celebrity Antiques Road Trip, Flog It, you know, these kind of shows, and I like them. You will have seen David Harper. And so he has started his own channel in which he gives some evaluations with some of his friends in the business. He has his own game show that he calls Getting It Right, and there's some great stories in the game show, and you can kind of play along in the comments. There's a lot of how-to tips and tricks about antique collecting and caring for antiques and even restoration. And as well, every time there's going to be stories, and you're going to learn a lot about history. So David Harper's World of Antiques, check it out, like and subscribe. And that is what I have, and we're with one crying cat, and we will see you next time. Peace.